Good morning, everyone. Fiona will be joining me in a moment, and today we wanted to talk a little bit more about our Women at Work research, and particularly today I want to talk about career clarity. So one of the things that we asked in our research was, and let me just open it so I can, right, Fiona is just about to jump on. Morning, Fee. How you
Morning,
going?
Kate. I'm well, thanks.
That's good. I was just saying, so the question we asked was, what barriers do you believe are hindering your career progression? And we had a series, I guess, of standard things that people could check. And then there was an opportunity for people to either pick no barriers or other things. And the number one barrier that people seem to think, and it was 38% of women, said that I'm not clear about what I actually want in context of career goals. Good morning, Jeanette. Lovely to have you online with us this morning. So this whole context of, I'm not clear about what I want, therefore I'm not able to progress my career. And look, we've been having this conversation with, it's deep in the Core Confidence book. We talk about clarity creates confidence and do some framework within that. Yet, Fiona, I think it's probably one of the most frequently, asked questions or things that I'm coaching clients around, because it comes up when I'm talking about my current role and my current workplace experience. It comes up when I'm talking about new opportunities and making a decision about where I go and what's a good move for me. And it also comes up, if I just feel really stuck. I was chatting with someone over the weekend who's talking about coming into Accelerate. And I just was really stuck with the familiar pattern that you and I both see, which is I'm in a toxic workplace. I'm not respected. Potentially I've been denied or I've tried to negotiate pay rises. I haven't gotten anywhere. I feel like there's no respect left. And interestingly, and we're not going to touch on pay rises, but interestingly, I said to this particular client, even if we got you more money, would you stay? Do you want to work there? I said, because that's the real question. Before we go and spend, which you and I both know, 3 months negotiating a substantial pay rise, do you want to work there? And it was a clear no. So I think there's a conundrum here around how we're taking responsibility for our own career clarity and what are we doing about it?
Yes, yeah. I think this is such a vexed question for people. And I think the notion of clarity is, it sounds easy to do, but a lot of us get a block around this one. A lot of us find it really tricky. And I think back to my own career and, the person you're talking about. And, when we get clear about things, we have to say no to something. And, as soon as we have a no, that means putting something to the side. And for some people, that can feel like I'm giving up something. We all know, FOMO, fear of missing out. So this idea that, as I get clear about something, I'm going to be saying yes to certain things, but I'm also going to have to say no to something else. That can feel really challenging, I think, and sort of putting those, for now, it's no for now. It might not be no forever, but it's certainly no for now in order to pursue what I'm clear about. The other thing I think that we've been seeing, as you mentioned, is responsibility. When I get clear and then I start to share that with other people, and that's, we always encourage that as part of, the programs and mentoring and that sort of thing is, so tell me, tell someone else, tell a few people what it is you're going after, because then you're accountable and then you're going to, you're going to have to actually do something about it. And that responsibility piece, it means I can't stay in the same place anymore. I'm going to have to do things differently. So I think those two things play out a bit around the whole clarity question.
Yeah, absolutely. That I guess the desire that says I'm not happy, or I'm not, this isn't exactly what I want, or I'm not super engaged or motivated in context of work. But the discomfort of leaving my role, of starting somewhere new, of having to, and I'm seeing this with a number of Accelerate clients. At the moment, we've got a number of, starting new roles. And, that discomfort of having to be somewhere with so much uncertainty, build relationships again, all of that sort of stuff is often enough of an obstacle or a barrier that says, I don't want that, so I'll put up with this right now. And I think, you know, that's one of the biggest challenges, as well as, and we see this particularly, I've heard it a number of times, you know, mums or women who are thinking about having children, that, you know, I've got the workplace, you know, I'm proven, I'm trusted, I've got good flexibility, I'm going to stay here, particularly in those early years of raising children. I'm going to stay here because I've got it all set up, it's working, and it's, I'm not going to say easy, but here it works. And if I move to another workplace, I have to go through all of that again, and I risk that. And I think both of those, I mean, I'm seeing clients at the moment who are being offered roles when they're about to go, so promotion opportunities when they're about to go on mat leave, who are, you know, 3 months pregnant, who are changing roles, who are being transparent around that, and who are still being offered opportunities and roles. And so, you know, it's not that it's not a consideration, because I do think all of those things are really important, but is it worth standing still in your career for 5 years? And, you know, everyone's got to make up their own choice here, but I guess, you know, our opportunity here is to challenge people a little bit and say, just because that's your circumstance doesn't mean that other organisations, other managers wouldn't be super supportive as well.
Yes, so I think we're seeing a change in the workplace, and certainly for some organisations, there's so much more across this. There's so much more aware of the long-term investment. They're just thinking more strategically about this rather than that old way of, oh, you know, well, you're going to take time out, you're not available, that sort of thing. And I think, you know, there's been a lot of good work done in this. And as you say, the more that we keep pushing those boundaries, the more people get out of their comfort zone and try these things, the more we're going to make this a standard and a norm, because that's what we're really talking about. Is we don't want, you know, the fact that women are the people who have children to mean that that is a career limiter in itself. We, you know, I think everyone's interested in how do we change that.
Yeah, and lots of great stories from clients whose, you know, partners are having 3 months paternity leave, and yeah, lots of great stuff like that around at the moment. And I don't think enough of those stories get celebrated. As well. But let's talk specifically around what can I do. I think it's important to think about your current workplace experience. One of the things that we do in Accelerate, I do a lot of workshops and clients on this sort of in-house work, is career values. And if you haven't got the book, I encourage you in chapter 1, and one of the 10 building blocks to core confidence is get clear. And so chapter 1 is all about that. In chapter 1, we talk about career values. There's some activities in there to help you not only unpack your values, what's important to you, but also then be able to assess your current workplace experience. I think that's really important. You know, where am I? Why am I here? What's left for me to acquire from being in this role? And when I say that, I mean professional assets, skills, capability, experience, things that you're going to be able to put on your CV that can move you forward. So I think it's really clear, and it's totally okay to be here because there's flexibility. At the moment, I don't want progression. I just kind of want to be able to come in, do a good job, contribute, go home, and you know, and be able to go about other things in life, and have room for the other things in life. So I think it's important to really get clear about what's going on right now. And that then is often the impetus to step into responsibility that you talked about earlier, being able to look at, okay, cool, well, what's next for me? And I think, you know, I get a lot of questions around, you know, I don't see a career path in my current organisation, and that, you know, like, what is it? How do I navigate that? And, you know, I circle back to that first question, you know, are you done? Similar to the question I asked my client on the weekend, which is, even if we got you a $10,000 pay rise, do you want to stay? And interestingly, and this is one for another one, she was like, no, I feel so disrespected now, and the trust is gone. I wouldn't stay here. It wouldn't matter what they pay. So it's an interesting one for employers, I think. And so then it's about career planning. It's career path. It's doing some due diligence. I think, Fee, and interested in your comments on this, people think the answer is going to fall out from the sky, or they're sitting quite dormant or still waiting for the perfect opportunity to kind of jump up and, you know, present themselves.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing that, you know, you mentioned discomfort earlier. And I think as soon as we start raising these issues, we start talking about it, we encourage people to get clear, we do move into a zone that is less comfortable. But what we do know about that is that's where change and growth occurs. So if we're staying in the same place, very little is going to change, and certainly we're not going to get the growth. And really, you know, in today's workforce, you know, lifelong learning is just a prerequisite. We've always got to be doing new things. We've always got to be challenging ourselves, because that's what gives us the edge in our workplaces and makes us really valuable to, you know, organizations. It's no longer enough, you know, this notion, you know, I can work really hard, you know, I can know all my stuff and that's going to get me all the way through. We talk about that in the book as well. Yes, they're important, and we're not saying don't do that, but if you don't do that in concert with getting clear and building relationships and all of the other elements, you're really going to shortchange yourself in terms of your potential. And so I think it's let's take the time to work out what it is you want to do, and then, you know, if there are barriers, how are you going to address them, rather than kind of ignoring it, or just, as you say, staying in a place for all the wrong reasons. And we've probably all done that. I mean, I can look back at my career and go, you know, gee, I should have left possibly 6 months, 12 months before I did. And for whatever reason, I didn't. So it's really important to keep checking in. Is this the right place for me now? And if I am going to stay, what am I going to learn by staying here? You know, in one of my roles, I was offered the chance to do some further study, which was really useful, and complemented some of the other things I did. So that was worth doing. And it meant that I had a new challenge in my work, even though it wasn't directly in the workplace.
Yeah, nice point. And important to note that learning is not just about study. I have rigorous conversations with clients around this one, because I think you've got to be really clear on the value that you're acquiring through doing study. Literally, what's going to be on your CV apart from the qualification that is going to be valuable for your future career moves as well. So two final things I do want to just touch on, and that is the importance of clarity in terms of alternate pathways. So looking outside your organization. A beautiful thing happens when you start looking online at jobs. And I know this because I was doing this. I was actually, beginning of the year, I was just online looking at some opportunities, looking for some keywords for some clients. And this energy comes when you start looking, and often a little bit of discomfort, because it's like, oh goodness, I mean, it just, the mere fact of looking at roles can make people quite anxious at the idea that that means I'm going to have to leave. And I always say to people, you're just looking, you're not necessarily buying. It's okay. It's just step one. But there is this kind of, it's this expansive energy that says, where else could I go? Who else could leverage my skill, capability, experience? And there's a renewal or exciting or expanding energy that happens with that. It kind of inspires us a little bit. So I think that's a really good thing to do, because it gives you some ideas. And if you are ready for the next step, applying for those to get some more information. Again, there's a big, what I call kind of exploring and due diligence phase when you're looking at your next role. But the other important thing is, and I've got a client that's just come on board this week who actually works in mining, and her organization are wanting her to get clear. She's clearly high potential. She's clearly someone they want to keep and progress, but they need her to tell them, where is it that you want to go? What is it that you want? So part of the reason that she's coming to Accelerate is, I know that they'll be really happy that I'm doing this, because, they're willing, they're ready to help me, but they're waiting on me to tell them what it is that I exactly want. So I think there's, if you're in that space, then leverage it. Don't let it kind of go by, because if you let that go for too long, where you're not capitalizing on the help and the opportunities that's there for you, you have to direct it. But if you're not doing that, then it's likely that help will kind of possibly go away and move on to other people. And alternatively, if you are ready to move on, then get out there, get clear about what you want, do some work on your CV. It's super important in terms of being able to articulate your skill, capability, experience in a good way. And then get out there and do some, exploring some due diligence. They're big decisions. They are 2, 3, 5-year decisions. So it's worth taking some time to get clear about what you want and making the right next move.
Definitely. Thanks, Kate.
Right. Well, on that note, let's leave it there. This is the last one we'll have with Fee. She's off to Europe for a couple of weeks. So I'll be flying solo for the next couple of weeks. We look forward to seeing you next week on our Facebook Live. As always, if you've got questions about the book, please send them through. We'd love to do some Facebook Lives around any of those topics. We've been talking about our Women at Work research today. I'll pop the link below. If you want a copy, please go ahead and grab that. And of course, if you want to buy the book, jump onto our website, www.coreconfidence.com.au. Thanks, guys.